what's up guys? So today we're moving into Unit 4, and I'm going to go ahead and do this and tell you that Unit 4 and Unit 5 are going to be doing everything with triangles. We're going to be doing a lot with triangles, so buckle up and let's get into it. So the first thing that we're looking at is properties and theorems of triangles. And the first thing we're going to look at is just the properties. So let's go ahead and look. First, on your paper, you have a definition. Obviously, it's going to be a polygon. A triangle is a polygon, and up here, the definition for a polygon is a closed figure in a plane made up of segments called sides that intersect only at their endpoints called vertices. So basically, any shape that is a closed figure that has sides and points are going to be a polygon. Okay, and so now specifically talking in a polygon, we are going to talk about a triangle. And a triangle is obviously a three-sided polygon because we have three sides. And those three sides are also known as segments. So those are line segments. And those line segments are AB, and this is in your notes, BC, and then you got AC or CA, whatever you want to call it. Those are going to be your three segments that make up your triangle. Now, each of the triangles have something called vertices, which are also known as points, which are going to be the points at which your sides meet. So these vertices are going to be known as point A, point B, and point C. And then lastly, triangles are made up of angles, and there are three different angles. We have 1, 2, 3 angles. So angle A, angle B, and angle C make up your triangle. So these are specific pieces that make up your triangle. So now we're going to look into classifying triangles in your next clip. All right, guys, so now what we're going to look at is how to basically classify triangles by looking at their angles. So if you look at your first definition here, you have an acute triangle is a triangle whose angles are all less than 90. So we all 90 degrees is going to be a right angle. So all less than, or that's greater than, is going to be less than 90 degrees. So if you look here, ladies and gentlemen, this angle, and this angle all look less than 90 degrees. So this right here is going to be known as an acute triangle because the angles are all less than 90, okay? So the next one on your list is going to be a right triangle. It is a triangle that contains one and only one angle that is equal to 90 degrees. So if you look here, this triangle has one and only one 90-degree angle because that's only possible one time in a triangle. So this right here is going to be known as a right triangle. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys, in Unit 5, we are going to be doing a lot of work with right triangles. So go ahead and buckle up and let's get this thing going. So right now, we need to know some specific things about a right triangle. So if you look on your paper, it says the sides forming the right angle are called your legs. So you have this side and this side forming my right angle. So this is a leg and this is a leg. So right here under legs, you could put AC and BA are going to be your leg, or forming the legs. And then the side that is opposite of the right angle, you need to remember this. The side opposite of the right angle is known as your hypotenuse. So your hypotenuse here is going to be known as BC. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be your hypotenuse. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a right triangle. And then lastly, an obtuse triangle is a triangle that contains one and only one obtuse angle. So remember, obtuse means greater than 90 degrees. So right here, ladies and gentlemen, you have one angle that is greater than 90 degrees. So this indeed is going to be an obtuse triangle, ladies and gentlemen. So those are going to be your three classifications of a triangle using angles. All right, guys, so we just now looked at classifying triangles by looking at their angles. So now what we're going to look at is classifying triangles looking at their sides. So right now on the first definition that you have is something called a scalene triangle. And by definition, a scalene triangle is a triangle that contains no sides equal in length. So if you look here, this triangle right here, we have one notch here, 2 notches here, and 3 notches here, which shows me that all 3 of those sides are not congruent. So that means this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be a scalene triangle because none of the sides are congruent, okay? The next one we're going to look at is an isosceles triangle. So isosceles triangle, by definition, is triangle that contains at least two sides that are equal in length. So if you look right here, this side right here and this side right here are going to be congruent. So that means this right here is going to be an isosceles triangle because at least two sides are going to be equal in length. And there's some special stuff that happens within an isosceles triangle. So right now, I know that the two legs are going to be congruent to each other. So the two congruent sides are going to be called my legs. So that means line AB is a leg and line BC is going to be a leg. And I know those two sides are going to be congruent because that's what happens inside an isosceles triangle, okay? Inside an isosceles triangle, the top vertex that is formed by the two legs is going to be known as your vertex. So angle B is going to be known as your vertex, okay? Opposite of that vertex, the side opposite of that is going to be known as your base. So opposite of the vertex is going to be your base. So side AC is going to be your base. And whenever you have an isosceles triangle, something special happens down on the two base angles. So opposite of the vertex is two base angles formed by the legs, and these two angles are going to be congruent. So angle A is going to be congruent to angle C. So that, ladies and gentlemen, are special things that happen with an isosceles triangle. Lastly, the third triangle that we're going to look at is something called an equilateral triangle. Equilateral triangle is which all sides and all angles are congruent. So all of these angles are congruent and all these angles are congruent and all these sides are congruent. So that means this is going to be an equilateral triangle. But also equilateral also means equiangular. Equiangular, keyword angle, have all three angles are going to be congruent. So side AC, side CB, and side AB are all going to be congruent to each other. Side or angle A, angle C, and angle B are going to be all congruent to each other. So ladies and gentlemen, equilateral means all the sides are congruent and all the angles are congruent. So ladies and gentlemen, these are the three classifications of a triangle by looking at their sides. All right, now added on to 4.1 are two theorems that we're going to look at. So first thing we're going to look at is something special that happens inside a triangle. We know there's an angle sum theorem. And what this angle sum theorem states is the sum of the measures of the angles of a triangle are all added up to 180 degrees. So in this example, it wants us to find the measurement of angle D. So I know that anytime I have a triangle, all of these angles, so angle F plus angle E plus angle D is all going to add up to 180 degrees no matter what. If it's a triangle, all the angles always add up to 180 degrees. So angle F right here is 32, angle E right here is 102, and I need to solve for angle D here. So 32 and 102 is going to be 134. So now I'm going to subtract 134 from both sides. 134 from both sides. This is going to cancel. So angle D here, it looks like is going to be 46 degrees. Okay, so that's going to be the angle sum theorem. So now lastly, equiangular triangles. Again, we know equiangular means all the angles are going to be congruent. So I know that the angles add up to 180. All three angles are going to be congruent. So if I did 180 divided by 3, that would be 60 degrees. So that means every single one of the angles in an equiangular triangle or in an equilateral triangle are going to be 60 degrees each right there. So ladies and gentlemen, angle sum theorem, all the angles add up to 180. Equiangular triangles, all of the angles are going to be 60 degrees. So now you guys can click over and get to work on your skill check.